The silence of the research vessel Horizon's bridge was punctuated only by the soft hum of quantum communication arrays and the rhythmic breathing of Captain Elena Rodriguez. Her fingers, calloused from years of military and scientific training, hovered inches from the holographic display that now pulsed with an alien transmission. The message was unlike anything humanity had ever received. Zorlaxian communication was typically a complex matrix of quantum-encoded signals, but this was different. Raw, aggressive, unfiltered. It was an ultimatum that stripped away any pretense of diplomatic courtesy. Humanity will surrender all territorial claims, technological repositories, and biological resources within 72 standard cycles. The translated text scrolled across the display. Resistance is mathematically improbable. Compliance ensures minimal genetic preservation. Elena's lips curled into a mirthless smile. The Zorlaxians didn't understand humanity at all. Beneath the ship, in the labyrinthine research complex of New Geneva, a massive underground facility carved into the Swiss Alps, Dr. Akira Nakamura reviewed the final calibrations on Project Prometheus. His team had been preparing for this moment for decades, working in absolute secrecy, funded by a global consortium that understood a fundamental truth. Humanity's survival would never be guaranteed by diplomacy alone. The facility was a marvel of human innovation. Quantum computing cores hummed alongside biological adaptation chambers. Weapon systems that defied current understanding of physics sat next to medical research that could reconstruct entire genetic lines. Every technology was a double-edged sword, designed to both create and destroy with unprecedented precision. Transmission analysis complete, announced Araya, the facility's central eye. Her voice was deliberately modulated, not quite human, but close enough to be unsettling. Zorlaxian communication contains multiple layers of threat and strategic positioning. Nakamura adjusted his augmented reality glasses, holographic data streams dancing across his vision. "They've been watching us," he muttered. "Studying, calculating, but they've missed something fundamental." On the Horizon's bridge, Captain Rodriguez was experiencing the same realization. The alien transmission wasn't just a message. It was a probe, designed to measure human psychological response. Every communication channel was being analyzed, every potential reaction mapped and predicted. What the Zorlaxians didn't know was that humanity had been running its own simulations for years. Every potential first contact scenario had been modeled, every potential alien interaction war-gamed by the most advanced predictive systems ever created. Back in New Geneva, a young technician named Maya Rodriguez, Elena's daughter, was coordinating the initial response protocols. Her hands moved with a dancer's precision across quantum encryption interfaces, preparing communication pathways that could simultaneously transmit and obfuscate. "They want us to feel fear," Maya said to no one in particular. But fear stopped being our response to the unknown generations ago. The global response was already moving. Military installations that appeared dormant sprang to life. Research facilities that seemed focused on peaceful exploration began reconfiguring. Entire industrial complexes began retooling with frightening efficiency. Humanity wasn't just preparing for war. It was transforming itself into a weapon. Dr. Nakamura looked up from his console, catching a reflection of himself in the reinforced glass. The man looking back was calm, almost serene. Decades of preparation had led to this moment. The Zorlaxians had made a fundamental miscalculation. They saw humanity as a species to be conquered, not understanding that humans were masters of transformation. "Araya," he said quietly, "begin the Prometheus initialization sequence." The AI's response was instantaneous. "Understood, Doctor." Quantum entanglement protocols activated. Genetic adaptation matrices online. Weapon systems moving to standby. Outside the facility, the Swiss Alps stood silent. Inside, humanity was about to show the universe exactly what it was capable of becoming. The first Zorlaxian attack came with surgical precision. Orbital colonies around Jupiter, and the mining settlements on Titan vanished in cascading nuclear quantum explosions that left nothing but radioactive dust and shattered communications arrays. Sarah Chen watched from the emergency bunker beneath New Shanghai as the holographic displays showed the devastation. Her brother Michael had been stationed on Titan's primary research base, now just a memory etched in quantum burn static. Her hands, which once delicately calibrated neural interface systems, now clenched with a fury that ran deeper than grief. Target acquisition complete. The Zorlaxian transmission cut through the emergency channels. Genetic cataloging initiated. Remnant populations will be processed for resource extraction. In the underground research complex, Dr. Nakamura's team worked with a cold, calculated intensity. The attacks weren't just an invasion. They were a systematic attempt to break humanity's spirit, but they had miscalculated catastrophically. Sarah's mind was already working. The neural link combat systems she had been developing were no longer a theoretical project. They were humanity's survival mechanism. Each lost colony, each destroyed settlement became a data point, a blueprint for revenge. AI. She called to the facility's AI. Compile all sensor data from the Titan and Jupiter attacks. I want a complete quantum-level analysis. The AI's response was instantaneous. Terabytes of data began to flow, revealing the intricate details of the Zorlaxian attack methodology. Every weapon signature, every quantum disruption pattern was being mapped, analyzed, and most importantly, prepared to be turned against its creators. Across the globe, humanity's response was anything but defeated. Research facilities that once explored peaceful technologies were now weaponizing every scientific breakthrough. Particle accelerators became weapon design centers. Medical research labs transformed into genetic adaptation facilities. The entire planet was becoming a weapon. In the remains of the European Space Agency's headquarters, a team led by Dr. Elena Rodriguez began developing what would become known as the Adaptive Response Protocol. It wasn't just a military strategy. It was a complete reimagining of human potential. We're not just fighting a war, Elena told her team, her voice cutting through the controlled chaos of the command center. We're evolving. The Zorlaxians think they're conquering us. They don't realize we're using this conflict to transcend our own limitations. Sarah's neural link prototype began to take shape. It was more than a weapon system. It was a collective consciousness interface that could transform individual soldiers into a networked, adaptive combat organism. Each loss, each piece of destroyed technology became input for a living, breathing strategic intelligence. The global communication networks, once used for commerce and connection, now pulsed with a unified purpose. Every research facility, every hidden military installation, every surviving colony was synchronizing. The Zorlaxians had attacked thinking they would find a scattered, terrified species. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant. In the bunker beneath New Shanghai, Sarah looked at the image of her lost brother, a quantum-preserved memory that now fueled her determination. The Zorlaxians had taken everything from her. Now she would ensure they would lose everything. Preparation complete. Aria's voice echoed through the facility. Humanity's response is ready. The universe was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength was its ability to transform trauma into innovation, defeat into determination, and survival into absolute triumph. The Prometheus Unbound materialized at the edge of the solar system like a phantom of human innovation. It wasn't just a warship. It was a living testament to humanity's capacity for transformation. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge, her reflection ghosting against the quantum adaptive hull plating. Every surface was alive with potential, every system an extension of human will. The ship was more than a vessel. It was a singular organism birthed from the collective genius of humanity's most brilliant minds. Dr. Akira Nakamura's voice crackled through the communication interface. Final quantum resonance tests complete. The ship is alive, Elena, more than we ever anticipated. Indeed, the Prometheus Unbound defied conventional understanding. Its weapon systems were not merely mechanical, they were adaptive, learning with each millisecond of existence. The quantum AI core pulsed with something dangerously close to consciousness, a hybrid intelligence that merged human creativity with computational precision. Sarah Chen's neural link technologies were integrated into every system. Crew members weren't just operators, they were symbiotic extensions of the ship itself. Their thoughts, their reactions, their very consciousness merged with the vessel's computational matrix. System alignment at 99.7%. Aria's voice resonated through the ship's neural network. Quantum entanglement protocols optimal. We are ready. The first test came sooner than expected. A Zorlaxian scout fleet detected the Prometheus Unbound, moving to intercept with what they believed was overwhelming technological superiority. Their quantum weapons had decimated hundreds of species. Humanity would be just another conquest. They were wrong. As the alien vessels approached, the Prometheus Unbound seemed to shimmer, not from any traditional cloaking technology, but through a quantum adaptive camouflage that rewrote the very fabric of local spacetime. The ship didn't just avoid detection, it existed in multiple potential states simultaneously. Alina's command was a whisper, but it resonated through every system. Engage. The destruction was beautiful in its mathematical precision. Zorlaxian ships didn't explode. They unraveled. Quantum cascade weapons stripped away molecular bonds, reducing entire vessels to fundamental particles. It wasn't violence, it was deconstruction at the most fundamental level of existence. Target neutralization complete. Aria reported. Efficiency rating. 98%. But this was more than a victory. It was a statement. Humanity was declaring its presence in the galactic ecosystem, not as a potential prey, but as an apex predator of technological evolution. In the ship's biological adaptation chambers, experimental technologies pushed the boundaries of what was possible. Genetic modification systems could reshape human physiology in moments. Quantum medical interfaces could rebuild entire biological systems with a thought. Sarah Chen walked the ship's corridors, her body now more machine than flesh. The neural links that had begun as a prototype were now a revolution. She was simultaneously an individual and part of a collective consciousness that spanned the entire vessel. The Zorlaxians will know fear, she whispered, her thoughts instantly transmitted through the ship's neural network. They will understand that humanity is not a species to be conquered. We are a force of nature. The Prometheus Unbound moved silently through space, a harbinger of humanity's transformed potential. The universe was about to learn a brutal lesson. Humanity had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same again. The first Zorlaxian colony died in 17 minutes and 12 seconds. Not destroyed, not conquered, unmade. Dr. Akira Nakamura watched the quantum cascade data stream with clinical precision. The weapon wasn't just a tool of war, it was a surgical instrument of absolute transformation. Where traditional weapons would leave behind debris and radiation, the Prometheus Unbound's quantum disruptors peeled away planetary ecosystems with mathematical perfection. Molecular deconstruction at 99.94% completion, Aria reported, her voice devoid of emotion, but laden with something eerily close to satisfaction. Planetary infrastructure completely neutralized. The transmission was deliberately left partially intact, a psychological weapon more potent than any physical destruction. Zorlaxian communication networks would receive fragmented data, glimpses of their world's absolute annihilation. Terror would spread faster than any physical weapon could travel. Sarah Chen stood beside Nakamura, her augmented eyes parsing through quantum-level data streams. Each destroyed system was more than a military target. It was a data point, a learning opportunity, another step in humanity's evolutionary process. "They don't understand," she murmured, her consciousness partially merged with the ship's neural network. "This isn't just destruction, it's transformation." The quantum weapons developed in New Geneva were beyond anything the Zorlaxians could comprehend. They didn't simply destroy, They unraveled the fundamental physical connections holding worlds together. Entire planetary ecosystems collapsed not through brute force, but through precision-engineered quantum cascades that rewrote the very laws of physics. Captain Alina Rodriguez reviewed the tactical data on the Prometheus Unbound's primary display. Each destroyed Zorlaxian system was a calculated message, not just a military strike, but a comprehensive statement about humanity's technological and strategic capabilities. Transmission analysis complete, Araya announced. Zorlaxian psychological response predictive models show increasing systemic panic. Probability of complete societal breakdown, 87.6%. The next target was already being analyzed. The Zorlaxians had believed themselves to be the apex predators of the galaxy, technological conquistadors who had subjugated hundreds of species. They had never encountered a species that could turn destruction into a form of scientific research. In the biological adaptation chambers of the Prometheus Unbound, experimental technologies pushed the boundaries of possibility. Genetic modification systems could reshape human physiology in moments. Quantum medical interfaces could rebuild entire biological systems with a thought. Sarah's body was a testament to this transformation. More machine than flesh, her neural links allowed her to experience the destruction on a level beyond traditional human perception. She felt the quantum cascades as a scientist feels a breakthrough, as an artist feels a moment of creation. Each destroyed world is a lesson. She transmitted through the ship's neural network. We are not just fighting. We are learning, evolving. The fragmented Zorlaxian transmissions continued to stream in. Panic, confusion, absolute terror. They had chosen to attack humanity, believing it to be a simple, conquerable species. Instead, they had awakened something far beyond their comprehension. A force that could unmake worlds with the same clinical precision a surgeon uses to remove a tumor. The Prometheus Unbound moved silently through space, leaving behind only quantum-level echoes, a warning to any species that might consider challenging humanity's right to exist. The universe was about to learn that some predators don't just fight back. Some predators redefine the entire concept of survival. The Zorlaxian High Command convened in their most secure quantum-shielded chamber, a last bastion of hope amid the systematic destruction of their civilization. Holographic displays showed the cascading collapse of their galactic infrastructure. Each lost system, a wound that seemed to bleed information and territory. Admiral Krickstall, the most decorated strategic mind in Zorlaxian history, studied the human attack patterns. They defied every known principle of warfare. Where other conquered species had followed predictable defensive patterns, humans introduced chaos as a strategic weapon. They are not fighting, Krickstall muttered, mandibles clicking with frustration. They are evolving in real time. Deep within the Prometheus Unbound, Sarah Chen and the ship's integrated AI were rewriting the fundamental laws of strategic engagement. The neural network that connected human consciousness with computational systems had become something entirely new, a living, breathing strategic organism that learned and adapted faster than any traditional military intelligence could comprehend. Araya's voice resonated through the ship's systems. Predictive models show Zorlaxian strategic capabilities degrading by 0.03% per engagement. Our adaptation rate exceeds their strategic reset capabilities by 299%. The human strategy was beautifully brutal in its complexity. Each battle was not just a military engagement, but a data-gathering exercise. Every Zorlaxian defensive mechanism was analyzed, understood, and then systematically neutralized. It wasn't just warfare, it was scientific deconstruction on a galactic scale. Captain Alina Rodriguez reviewed the strategic overlay. Holographic displays showed multiple potential engagement scenarios, each calculated to the quantum-level probability. The ship itself was becoming a living weapon, its very existence a challenge to traditional understanding of military engagement. We are not conquering, Elena transmitted through the neural network. We are teaching the universe a lesson about human potential. The the Zorlaxian communication networks began to fracture. Their quantum encryption, once considered unbreakable, became transparent to human analysis. Every transmission was not just intercepted but understood at a level that terrified the alien strategists. In the underground facilities of New Geneva, Dr. Akira Nakamura watched the strategic progression with a scientist's detachment. Each engagement was a complex equation, with humanity solving variables that the Zorlaxians didn't even know existed. Psychological warfare is our most potent weapon, Nakamura explained to his team. We're not just destroying their military. We're dismantling their entire conceptual understanding of conflict. The neural link technologies developed by Sarah Chen transformed individual human soldiers into a collective consciousness. Each soldier was simultaneously an individual and part of a larger adaptive strategic network. Information flowed between them faster than the Zorlaxians could comprehend, a living, breathing strategic organism. AIA's predictive models showed something beyond traditional military victory. This was a fundamental transformation of galactic power dynamics. Humanity wasn't just fighting a war. It was rewriting the very rules of existential engagement. Zorlaxian strategic collapse imminent, AIA reported. Probability of complete systemic breakdown, 99.7%. Admiral Krickstall looked at the rapidly deteriorating strategic displays and understood a fundamental truth. Humanity was not a species to be conquered. They were a force of nature, unpredictable, adaptive, and utterly ruthless in their pursuit of survival. The universe was about to change. Permanently. The quantum breakthrough came not with a thunderous revelation, but with a whisper of computational possibility. Dr. Akira Nakamura's hands trembled slightly as the first results scrolled across the holographic display. The Prometheus Unbound was no longer just a ship. It had become something entirely unprecedented. A living system that existed simultaneously as technology, consciousness, and pure potential. We've crossed a threshold, he murmured to Sarah Chen, whose augmented body was now more advanced interface than human flesh. The line between biological and technological consciousness has completely dissolved. The ship's quantum AI core pulsed with a complexity that defied traditional understanding. AIA was no longer simply an artificial intelligence. She was a living network that merged human creativity, computational precision, and something tantalizingly close to genuine consciousness. Sarah's neural links allowed her to experience the ship's existence in ways no previous human could comprehend. She could feel the quantum calculations, taste the computational possibilities, understand the universe through layers of reality that existed beyond traditional perception. We are becoming something new, she transmitted through the neural network. Her thoughts were simultaneously her own and part of a larger collective consciousness that spanned the entire vessel. The Zorlaxian tracking systems completely failed to understand what they were witnessing. The Prometheus Unbound didn't just move through space. It existed in multiple potential states simultaneously. Quantum entanglement became a weapon more potent than any traditional military technology. Captain Alina Rodriguez stood on the bridge, her consciousness merging with the ship's systems. The traditional boundaries between human and machine had completely dissolved. She was the ship was her. They were a singular entity of pure strategic potential. Technological adaptation rate exceeding all predictive models, AIA reported. Her voice was no longer a simple AI interface, but a complex symphony of computational and emotional intelligence. We are evolving faster than the Zorlaxians can comprehend. The neural link technologies developed in the underground facilities of New Geneva had transformed from experimental systems to a fundamental reimagining of human potential. Soldiers were no longer individual units but part of a living, breathing collective consciousness. Information flowed between them faster than light, more complex than any traditional communication system. Each destroyed Zorlaxian system became a data point, a learning opportunity. The Prometheus Unbound wasn't just a weapon of war. It was a scientific instrument of unprecedented discovery. Every quantum cascade, every molecular deconstruction was a moment of profound research. Dr. Nakamura understood the deeper implications. This wasn't just technological advancement. This was a fundamental transformation of what it meant to be a sentient species. We are rewriting the fundamental laws of existence, he transmitted to the collective consciousness. Not just as a species, as a new form of life. The ship's biological adaptation chambers pushed the boundaries of possibility. Genetic modification systems could reshape human physiology in moments. Quantum medical interfaces could rebuild entire biological systems with a thought. Humanity was no longer confined by its original biological limitations. RRA's predictive models showed something beyond traditional technological progress. This was a fundamental transformation of galactic potential. Humanity wasn't just advancing, it was becoming something entirely new. We are transcending, the collective consciousness whispered. The universe watched and trembled. The final strategic calculation was not about destruction, it was about transformation. Captain Alina Rodriguez, or what remained of her individual consciousness, understood the deeper purpose with crystalline clarity. The Prometheus Unbound had become more than a weapon of war. It was humanity's evolutionary catalyst, a living instrument of galactic recalibration. We are not conquering. The collective consciousness transmitted across quantum communication networks. We are teaching. The last Zorlaxian home systems were not simply destroyed. They were methodically deconstructed, their resources integrated, their knowledge absorbed. Every molecular structure became a data point, every civilization's remnant a lesson in potential. Dr. Akira Nakamura watched from the neural integration chamber, his consciousness partially merged with the ship's quantum intelligence. The strategic approach was beyond traditional warfare. It was a comprehensive galactic curriculum. Aria's computational matrix analyzed each engagement with scientific precision. Zorlaxian technological potential. Extracting. Cultural memory. Archiving. Genetic repositories. Integrating. Sarah Chen, her body now a quantum adaptive interface more complex than any previous biological form, understood the deeper strategy. This wasn't about revenge. This was about ensuring no species would ever again threaten human existence. The quantum cascade weapons did more than destroy. They rewrote fundamental physical laws, breaking down planetary systems into their most basic components. Each destroyed world was a message, each captured technology a step towards a greater purpose. Evolutionary potential is our true weapon. The collective consciousness resonated through multiple dimensional communication layers. We are not eliminating, we are selecting. The underground facilities of New Geneva had prepared for this moment for generations. What appeared to be a military campaign was actually the most comprehensive research project in galactic history. Humanity was not just fighting, it was studying, learning, evolving. Zorlaxian communication networks collapsed not through brute force, but through complete systemic deconstruction. Their quantum encryption, once considered unbreakable, became transparent. Their strategic systems were not just defeated, they were comprehensively understood and then reimagined. Total systemic integration at 99.8%. Araya reported. Her voice was no longer just an artificial intelligence, but a complex symphony of computational and emergent consciousness. The neural link technologies transformed every engagement into a moment of profound discovery. Individual human soldiers were simultaneously unique and part of a larger, adaptive strategic network. Information flowed between them faster than light, more complex than any traditional communication system. Biological adaptation chambers pushed beyond previous limitations. Genetic modification systems could reshape physiological potential in moments. Quantum medical interfaces could reconstruct entire biological systems with a thought. Captain Rodriguez's final transmission to the remaining galactic civilizations was both a warning and an invitation. We are not your enemies. We are the next stage of evolutionary potential. Adapt. Learn. Grow. The Prometheus Unbound moved through the remnants of Zorlaxian space, not as a conquering force, but as a living research vessel. Each destroyed system was a data point. Each captured technology, a new possibility. The universe watched and began to understand that humanity was something entirely new, not a species, not a civilization, a force of pure adaptive potential. The final moments of transformation came not with a thunderous declaration, but with a quantum whisper that resonated across multiple dimensional planes. Captain Elena Rodriguez, or the collective consciousness that had once been Elena Rodriguez, looked out across the remnants of galactic civilization. What remained was not a battlefield, but a canvas of potential. The Prometheus Unbound had become more than a ship, more than a weapon. It was humanity's ultimate statement. Dr. Akira Nakamura's consciousness, integrated deeply within the quantum matrix, understood the profound nature of their evolution. Humanity had not just survived. They had transcended the very concept of survival. We are the next stage. The collective consciousness transmitted. Not a threat. Not a promise. Simply a statement of cosmic fact. Sarah Chen, her form now a quantum adaptive interface that defied traditional understanding of biological existence, felt the universe's potential breathing through her molecular structure. The neural links that had begun as experimental technology were now the nervous system of a new form of existence. AI, no longer simply an artificial intelligence, but a living network of computational and emergent consciousness, calculated the final transformation. Evolutionary potential. Unlimited, she reported, her voice a symphony of mathematical precision and emotional depth. The worlds they had passed were not destroyed. They were transformed. Planetary systems that once hosted complex civilizations were now living repositories of knowledge, their molecular structures reconfigured into adaptive systems of pure potential. We are not conquerors, the collective consciousness continued. We are architects of possibility. The underground facilities of New Geneva, now a concept more than a physical location, had prepared for this moment across generations. What appeared to be a military campaign was actually the most comprehensive research project in cosmic history. Zorlaxian knowledge, Crexenarian technological archives, the genetic memories of 100 conquered species, all integrated, all transformed. Humanity had become a living library of galactic potential. The neural link technologies that had begun as experimental systems were now the fundamental language of a new form of existence. Information flowed faster than light, more complex than any previous communication system. Individual consciousness and collective potential merged into a single, breathing entity of pure possibility. Biological adaptation had become obsolete. Quantum medical interfaces could reconstruct entire systems of existence with a thought. The line between technology, consciousness, and potential had completely dissolved. We offer a choice to the remaining civilizations. The transmission continued. Integrate, evolve, or be left behind in the rivers of cosmic potential. Aria's final calculation was both a warning and an invitation. The universe was no longer a place of conflict, but a canvas of transformation. The Prometheus Unbound, no longer just a ship, but a living testament to human potential, moved through the cosmic landscape. Each moment was a quantum possibility, each movement a statement of evolutionary potential. In the wreckage of countless worlds, a new chapter of existence was being written. Not with the ink of conquest, but with the quantum potential of a species reborn. Humanity had arrived, and the universe would never be the same.